And now I'm going to read from the classic John Galt, previous Irvine novelist, whose Annals of the Parish is coming up for a very significant anniversary. It was published in 1721 and is a masterpiece not only of Scottish literature but of political novel writing the world over. I'm going to read you a wee bit from chapter 2, 1761. It was in this year that the great smuggling trade corrupted all the west coast, especially the leylands around the Troon and the Lowns. The tea was going like the chaff, the brandy like well water, and the wastrel of all things was terrible. There was nothing minded but the riding of cadgers by day, and excisemen by night, and battles between the smugglers and the king's men, both by sea and land. There was a continual drunkenness and debauchery, and our session, that was but on the lip of this whirlpool of iniquity, had an awful time o' it. I did all that was in the power of nature to keep my people from the contagion. I preached 16 times from the text, "Render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's." I visited, and I exhorted, I warned, and I prophesied. I told them that, although the money came in like slate stains, it would go now like the snow aff the dyke. But for all I could do, the evil got in among us, and we had no less than 3 contested bastard bairns upon our horns at one time, which was a thing never heard of in the parish of the Shire of Ayr since the Reformation. 2 the bairns, after no small sifting and searching, we got fathered at last, but the 3rd, that was by Meg Glakes, and given to one Rab Rickerton, was utterly refused, though the fact was not denied, but he was a termagant fellow and snap at his fingers at the elders. The next day he listed in the Scots Greys, who were then quartered at Ayr, and we never heard more of him, but thought he had been slain in battle to one of the parish about 3 years since, went up to London to lift a legacy from a cousin that died among the Hindus. When he was walking about, seeing the curiosities, and among others Chelsea Hospital, he happened to speak to some of the invalids, who found out from his tongue that he was a Scotchman, and speaking to the invalids, one of them, a very old man, with a grey head and a leg of timber, inquired what part of Scotland he was frae. And then, when he mentioned my parish, the invalid gave a great shout and said he was from the same place himself, and who should this old man be but the very identical Rab Rickerton that was art and part in Meg Glegg's disowned bairn. Then they had a long converse together, and he came through many hardships, but had turned out a good soldier, and so, in his old days, was an indoor pensioner and very comfortable. And he said that he had, to be sure, spent his youth in the devil's service, and his manhood in the king's, but his old age was given to that of his Maker, which I was blithe and thankful to hear. And he inquired about many a one in the parish, the bloomin' and the green of his time, but they were all dead and buried, and he had a contrite and penitent spirit, and read his Bible every day, delighting most in the book of Joshua, the Chronicles, and the Kings. Before this year, the drinking of tea was little known in the parish, saving among a few of the heritors' houses on a Sabbath evening, but now it became very rife. Yet the commoner sort did not like to let it be known that they were taking the new luxury, especially the elderly women, who for that reason had their ploys and outhouses and by-places, just as the witches lang syne had their sinful possets and galravitchins, and they made their tea for common in the pint stoop, and drank it out of caps and luggies, for there were few among them that had cups and saucers. Well do I remember one nicht in harvest in this very year, as I was taking my twilight donner aneath the hedge along the backside of Thomas Thorle's yard, meditating in the goodness of Providence, and looking at the sheaves of victual in the field, that I heard his wife and 2-3 other carlins with their bohea in the inside of the hedge, and no doubt but it had a lacing i' the conneck, for they were all cracking like pen guns. But I gave them a sign by a loud host that Providence sees all, and it scaled the bike, for I heard them like guilty creatures, whispering and gathering up their truck pots and trenchers and cowering away hame.